Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Cocktails at the Tangiers. I'm Craig Shacklett from URComped, and we've got the host whisperer, the one and only, the legend, Nick Ippolito.
Where's my mug? Next time I'm going to drink out of my mug that I got for Christmas, the host whisperer.
I know. I love it. Is that going on trips with you when you're traveling?
Yes, of course. My sister saw that you and I were talking about it on LinkedIn or whatever, and she made it for me for Christmas. It's beautiful.
Oh, I love it. And where have you been lately?
Where haven't I been lately, Greg? I've been Seven Feathers. We finished up there. That was fantastic. Again, my kudos to Jay, the GM, and Anita. You know Anita very well.
Great team.
I learned so much from Anita. So much. I've gained so much leadership knowledge working with Anita. Then I was in Elane quite a few times. Elani. Jersey guy. They give me these Indian names. And I'm going back to Elane. I'm doing a lot of work with Elani and Lou and Amanda and Spirit Mountain. And I went all the way up to Silver Reef up in Washington. And then I Airbnb'd for a couple of days on in Olympia on a lake. And I caught 400 rainbow trout. It was great. And then I just went to Reno, the Atlantis in Reno, which was wonderful. And to bring player development to Reno. Oh my God, it was so great. I was all over the world. I've never done Reno. So, and I'm going back. I'm going back to Reno as well to help out there. Not only there, but other properties. So it's been a good run. I'm finally home in Vegas. Got to wear my Tangiers t-shirt and relax a little bit in Vegas before the next trip. Next trip is Seneca, Niagara.
Wonderful. Well, yeah, we can, for the podcast listeners, they're not seeing it. YouTube may flag us for promoting guns because you got the arms out there.
Told you, Baby Gap, baby. Shop at Baby Gap. That's what does it.
All right. Well, speaking of YouTube, we actually got a comment. I love when these come in. We got a great comment from Taylor.
Yeah.
Could you do a segment with Nick on developing a PD program? I've been working on researching some things and have watched a few videos with Nick and quite like his opinion and view. So
what's his name?
Taylor Cone Thompson is who.
Where does he work?
I don't know. This is just a comment on our YouTube video.
Well, he needs to hire me immediately. That's the first thing he needs to do.
Let's give him a little taste. We'll give him a little sample, appetizer.
You know what's so funny about this comment, though? I just got done saying in the last two places I was at, the hosts really get it. And I really got to start focusing on leadership. I really got to start focusing and coaching and helping and giving all the tips. I've gave so many tips and tools to host. I just got a wonderful testimonial, and I'm not going to call them testimonials anymore because they're just results. You can have great event. It was a great time. We loved his energy. We love her energy. But my testimonies are results, right? So I just got one from Harris of all places in Vegas, which I don't touch Vegas. I don't work in Vegas. I don't care about Vegas. It's a puppet show. But this kid was phenomenal. And so I'm going to turn my testimonies into results. They're not testimonials. But anyway, I've worked so much with the host that it's time to move on to leadership and building these PD programs. And where do you start from? And the KPIs and the accountabilities and so much to do with the PD leader, especially with the data, which you are a data guy, especially with the data. I need to start moving in. So it's an interesting comment that he makes. And I'm hoping to devote the next, this year and next year with PD leadership. And not only PD leadership, but let's move up a little bit and let's talk to the GMs. Let's talk to the COs. I want to talk to the directors of every department about player development.
Well, I went to a beautiful property, and this is one I want to put the feelers out there. I want somebody to connect URComped with Oaklawn Casino in Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Oh,
love Hot Springs. Yeah, so I went there, and it's beautiful property. I love Hot Springs. About a 4.5-hour drive from Dallas. Beautiful place, great fishing. You would love it. And they've got Oaklawn Racetrack, and they just recently built in the last couple of years a nice big hotel. They got a beautiful casino floor. And I'm like, I want to start sending players here through URComped. So I walk in, I start walking around. I'm like, hey, where's your host department? Do you have hosts? Do you have somebody I could talk to? And they're like, we got like slot floor people, but we don't really have hosts. I'm like, huh. So
Isn't that amazing?
yeah. So anyway, I mean, the place was busy. You know, they're doing great. I'm sure their numbers are phenomenal, and everyone was friendly. Right. A great place. But yeah. So let's just take a hypothetical. You've got a casino like that. What's step
So the
one?
first thing you have to do, and I do have casinos like that, and the first thing I do is you have to really look at what you need, right? What your business demands, what your demographic demands, right? And then you work from there. You know, I hear many people say everybody needs a host department. I don't know yet. You know, I know it cuts into my paycheck, right? But I don't know yet, right? But there's two types of hosts you need. You might just, if you have no competition, you don't need aggressive salespeople, right? If there's no competition for miles and miles and miles, and you have all the growth, then there's no reason for a PD. So that's the first thing. And on LinkedIn, it's constant. It's constant with these people who've never been in player development or casino hosting. And they're throwing around player development like it's water. First of all, it's casino player development, right? Player development is sports. It's casino player development. And player development is the growth. It's sales. It's finding the growth and looking for the growth and building the growth, right? And then there's casino hosting, which is maintenance, which is taking care of and recognizing, celebrating. It's hospitality to the ninth level, right? It's concierge to the ninth level. So first you got to figure out what you need and how many of those you need, But it starts with the data, Craig. It starts with the data. I would go to a place like you just mentioned, and I'm on my way soon to a couple of them to do this, where I'm going to pull the data first, because the data is going to tell me. And I know this is mind blowing for an old slot host to be talking about data, right? But it's so important. So many CEOs, GMs, vice president of P go, oh, they need to grow business. Well, if the guy comes 21 times a month, we're not growing anybody, okay? And you're forcing these poor hosts up against the wall, and you're coding them to 700 people who come 20 times a month. That's ridiculous. That's silly. So the first thing you really need to identify the data. You need to find the growth. You need to find the growth in the high frequency players. You need to find the growth in the low frequency players. You need to find the growth in the out of market players. And then you need to find the growth in the inactive players and the inactive list and the decliners. There's so many segments and there's so many sub segments that I have come up with over the years. Now my chart looks crazy. It looks like I'm flying to the moon. But you got to start segmenting your PD data, and we got to stop. Number one, stop living in marketing data and stop living in marketing tiers. I don't allow hosts to talk. A host comes in the office the other day and said, hey, I have this silver player. I go, stop, go back out, come back in. I don't want to hear silver player. I don't want to hear gold player. I don't want to hear black player. I want to hear ADT. I want to hear Theo. I want to hear the conversation you had with the player. I want to hear where else does he gamble? Where else did he go? I want to hear about the growth. Don't tell me about the color of his stupid card, right? Mm-hmm. So it's all about that data and finding the growth first. And then you gotta knock out your segments. You know, I go to some places that are going after 1,700 ADT and above, and they have no business going after that player. The competition's got them. So find your pocket. Find your, you know, maybe you pull your data and 200 to 400 ADT is your sweet spot. So then blow that up. Make all the money that you can off of that. But you've got to find the growth first. So then you should have the PD leader should have all these segments. He should know, this guy should know how many people he has from 100 to 300 ADT, how many people he has from 301 to 499, how many he has from 501 to 698, right? He should be, and they should be moving them around and pushing them over and working with Excel or whatever you want to work with, QCI or something, something that could really, maybe even, I don't know, you have a program that does that as well, but move that data around and play with that data and find your spots, find your openings, find your growth, find your areas where you can, do better maintenance or people you have to celebrate, your top players, it could be 3 of them. It could be 32 of them. It could be 12 of them. It's different wherever I go. So once you've established that, then I really think we need to start separating PD and maintenance. We need to have floor hosts, it's called. It's an old term. It was on my business card with Atlantic City in 1986, right? I was a floor host, right? Which is hysterical. But we need to start getting back to that. We need floor hosts, VIP hosts, whatever you want to call them, working the floor, working the desk, working the high frequency, working the 89 ADTs, but they're your top player. And then you need PD to be focusing on the growth section. And you need to ask yourself, where do I see our host in 3 months? Where do we see the host in 6 months? Where do we see the host in 12 months? Right? And then PD. Where do I see the PD in 3 months? Where do I want them to be? We're not doing this stuff. We're coding way too much. I'm going to say this, and I've said this in every one of our interviews, I believe, Craig. We're coding way too many guests to the host. Way too many. 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 300 is too much these days. I don't care what anybody says. 300 is too much. You really want to take care. Look, if I gave you a party, if you were hosting a party of 10 people, right? You would do a way better job if you were hosting a party of 100 people, correct? Maybe I'm wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're only CFOs who go, I'm not hiring any more hosts. Well, I don't care. Here I am in Vegas. I'm going to the pool after this interview, in my Tangiers shirt. You do whatever you want with your casino, but you have to look logically, and you have to look at, am I hurting the business? Am I helping the business? Am I promoting growth? Right. So I don't know. And then what else would I tell him to do? Yeah, he's got a lot of KPIs, a lot of accountability. He needs to, work into the program.
So boil it. So it's just make sure you're collecting all the data. From all the data, you got to sort it and then figure out, okay, where are my growth opportunities? The people that are coming, more often, spending more time at the casino than the employees, probably not a lot of growth there, but there's some that, and that's why people hire you but you find where there's the upside opportunity. You identify those players.
Absolutely.
How big is that universe? That might determine how big of a team you need, right?
It exactly determines the type of team you need, right? And right now, we're getting into this. We need telemarketers. We need phone call centers. We need call systems. We need sales associates. Seneca is going to have me build, a sales associate there. There's tons of lists and tons of names that are getting unlooked, unhinged, uncalled. We really need to get back to basics here.
Mm-hmm. And people are. Yeah, I mean, obviously we do a lot of email and text, but the thing is, there's something powerful about a phone number or about a phone call, because it really
absolutely
builds a personal connection, and it inspires action.
Yes. And I listen, I beg you, you've heard me say it to you. It's no secret. And I beg everybody, optics, GA, I beg QCI, an email and a text is going to get you in. You're going to lose your numbers. I don't care what anybody says. I have seen it with my own eyes. I've gone to a property. The host is number one on the property. 11 months later, I come back and they're the bottom. And it's because not your fault, not QCI's fault, not GA's fault. The host, it becomes a crutch. And leadership is giving you points and giving you credit on how many emails you do and how many texts. Well, how dumb is that, leadership? You're dumb. Okay? Don't tell your host, I'm going to point you on how many emails. And then they call me and go, all these hosts want to do is email. What? That's how you set up the program, right? Mm-hmm. But you cannot build a relationship. You cannot build a relationship through text messaging or email. You cannot win a sale through text messaging and email. You can use it to get them to call you on the phone, so you can use what we hired you for, which is this beautiful voice, right? That all hosts are supposed to be projecting, right? That is why we hired you, for your personality, not for your thumbs. I always say this now in interviews. Don't hire people for their thumbs. I got robots that can do text messaging and email.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. I mean, it's becoming commoditized, the electronic communication more.
And
yeah,
it's not the software fault. Don't get defensive or be mad at me. No, not you, the people that are listening, right? It's the human fault. We live in an age of just, we walk around like this. It's disgusting, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not why we hired you. You're a host.
Yep. And and it all goes back to the math. Like you said, it's identifying, because a player that's 30 ADT, if you can drive a trip with an email that costs 1 cent to send, or, really no cost, but the point is, like, you can drive that trip, great. It's worth sending an email. It's not worth tying up 20 minutes of a host time to drive that trip. So
Right.
it's all, ultimately, it all comes down to math. And it just,
Right.
if you can figure it out on your own, great. If not, then it makes sense to bring somebody in like Nick that can help hold you there, hold your hand, get you there, and then train the team on what to do once they get them on the phone.
You just said amazing thing. It comes down to not math. I call it marketing channels. Mm-hmm. And I'm challenging marketing people now, and none of them are doing it. But your system, QCI, GA, can help them do it. You need to identify the marketing channels. Let me ask you a question. Why is a host coded to somebody who already responds to the direct mail and the email that marketing sends? That is their preferred marketing channel. Mm-hmm. They should not be coded to a host. Mm-hmm. Give the host somebody who's not responded. Why isn't marketing looking at their emails? Okay, we sent 100,000 emails for the Valentine's VIP. 47 people responded. Okay, so get those off, get those away from the host. And the other, whatever I said, 100,000, right? The other, 999, we got to talk about that, right? So you're talking about marketing channels, which, listen, there's so much accountability and scrutiny and qualifying and KPIs on PD, but yet marketing can send 100,000 emails and go home at 4:00 and sushi and wine and hi everybody. I know they won't comment anyway. A marketing person, only Carrie has ever commented on my comments. So I mean, they don't have to qualify. They don't know what a billboard does. They don't know what their direct mail campaign is doing. But yet, as host, as PD, we're funnel. We're minutia.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at those marketing channels, like you just said.
Yeah, I think we've got some fodder for the next cocktails of the Tangiers, because I've got thoughts on that. Just from, with URComped, we deal with hundreds of thousands of players, and
right,
we've got a growing team, but it's not, we have to think long and hard about our marketing channels, and I think we do a good job at that. But
giggity,
I'd love to talk with you about it on the next.
You said Peter Griffin would say, you said long and hard.
What a perfect way to wrap up an amazing edition of Cocktails of the Tangiers. Nick, any closing thoughts?
No, wrap it up again. That was good. So you got to map out your database. You got to map out your segments. You got to map out your critical path, right? Your plan, critical path. Seth Shore, down when I opened the downtown Grand with him, he taught me that critical path, right? A boat in a harbor, if it has no direction, it's going to go around that harbor and around that harbor, right? So, and if it has 16 directions, it's not going to know where to go once it gets out of the harbor, right? So that I'll wrap it up with that.
Excellent. Nick, Host Whisperer, thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful weekend, sir, and looking forward to the next Cocktails of the Tangiers.
Also, I don't know. I know I promised you, so I just want to get it out before I start announcing it. But there are going to be Nick Ippolito conferences and conventions, and yep. They're going to be coming to a gaming state near you. They're going to be in every gaming state, and they're going to be strictly player development and casino hosts. There's too many out there that are marketing, and they're wonderful. They're wonderful for marketing, and they have a lot of marketing and branding information and other things. I mean, tribal law, and I mean, just so many great things. But I am not going to water mine down. Mine is going to be strictly player development and casino host orientated, and it's going to be very, very informative and interesting. Only if you're a casino host or you want to be a casino host.
You heard it here first, folks.
You did.
All right. Well, hey, Nick, congrats on that. I'm excited to work with you on it, and we're going to support it every way we can. I know you will. You'll be there. You'll be there. Well, thank you, sir.
Have a good day. See you soon next week.
See you next week.
Cocktails at the Tangiers. I'm going to record it.
I love it.